Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Creepypastas. This time we take a look at one called The Red Room, all about a mysterious pop-up ad that just happens to show up. Can you turn it off? Do you even want to? But biggest question of all is, what is this pop-up leading to? Well, those questions will hopefully be answered. Well, they'll definitely be answered as soon as we dive right into this creepypasta simply titled The Red Room. So sit back, relax, and most importantly of all, please enjoy this creepypasta. It was almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the large suburban Edwin McDonald High School had just let out for the weekend. A tall, mature-looking young man, Eric, stood alone in one of these classrooms, leaning on someone's desk and flipping through the rifts of papers in his hands. A long weekend was coming up, and almost everyone had something due, so that afternoon had become a last-handed opportunity. There were probably less than 15 students still in the building. A fair-haired, bespectacled boy about Eric's age came into the room and slammed his fair-sized backpack onto the desk. "Hey, you're still here?" Eric simply glanced up, not faltered by the noise. "I have a lot of papers to put in, Ramsey." "Everybody else is leaving now," he gestured to the door. 3 mousy-looking girls walked by chattering. "You're still going to come over tomorrow, right?" "I wouldn't drop my plans without saying," Eric said in a shrug. He often found himself the least energetic of the pair. Ramsey was a nice guy, but he was way too wild sometimes. "Oh, by the way," Ramsey pulled himself up to sit on one of these desks, "I heard a rumor about a deadly pop-up on the internet called The Red Room." Eric finally looked up, his face disturbed. "You, heard about what?" "The Red Room." "Well, why is it called that?" "I don't know, it's just like this, Ramsey paused, smirking, trying to gather whatever story he had. "Someone will be on the internet and everything's all normal at first, but then a pop-up comes up out of nowhere. It doesn't say anything other than, 'Do you like?' You know, you could always close it." "Well, that's the thing. If anyone tries to close it, they die." Ramsey ended this with a hiss, wiggling his fingers in the air. Eric laughed a little. "Come on, that doesn't make any sense," he retorted, throwing his jacket on. "How do you know it even exists?" "It just does. I have to test it to be sure." Ramsey was agitated now. "I heard a couple of people have actually died from it." Eric was at the door now. "I hope not, man. Now I need to get these to Miss Granger," he said with a wave of the papers in his hand. "Sure, just make sure you can come over tomorrow." "I will. My sister's bringing her Kung Fu movie collection. I'm still not going to miss it." "Good," Ramsey waved him off. "I'll see you." Eric headed up to the hall with a bit of a sigh. Why would you want to do that to yourself? It was about an hour before Eric had finally gotten home. He had some groceries on the way to the apartment house, and knew his father would almost certainly be working late at the office again. As he was stepping into their apartment, he called out, "Dad, I got some things." Nothing but silence had greeted him. As he put away the groceries, his mind flipped back to Ramsey and the pop-up. Maybe there's some kind of news release or a death report, he thought. If the pop-up actually killed someone, there's gotta be some word about it, right? Eric sat down at the computer in his room, hoping to ascertain that the rumor was, or was not, true. He went directly to a search engine and began typing in killer pop-up or death by pop-up, pop-up window murders, and a variety of similar things, but repeatedly he found nothing. He assumed then that Ramsey had been pulling into yet another hoax. And let it be. He went off to check his email and a few other sites. Less than 10 minutes later, while he was back on another search engine, a small rectangular pop-up had appeared on screen. Eric looked at it, looked away, and then looked back in alarm. Eric stared at the pop-up for a few minutes, wondering what to do. Ramsey's words still echoed in his head. If anyone tries to close it, they die. He considered calling him for help, but Ramsey would probably overreact and call the police. He moved the mouse pointer around the pop-up for a few minutes, wondering what to do. Ramsey's words still echoed in his head. If anyone tries to close it, they die. He considered calling him for help, but Ramsey would probably overreact and call the cops. He moved the mouse pointer around the pop-up, checking for another link or more text. It could only be either a joke ad or a virus, as far as he knew. Eric closed his main window, checking if the smaller one could be connected to it, but the little pop-up remained. "Oh, very funny," Eric muttered. He moved the mouse over to the X button, wondering if he should go ahead and close it, all the while arguing with his brain. It's probably just a joke. What if I really am gonna die? This apartment is small. I mean, I'd hear if anyone would come in, right? I mean, how could they even find me? Finally, he clicked the X, slowly and uneasily. It disappeared from the screen. Eric looked at the floor, expecting someone or something to leap out and attack him. Nothing had happened. He looked up again and prepared to shut off the computer, but the pop-up appeared again, this time with the sound clip of a girl's voice saying, "Do you like?" Her voice was warped, as if the sound file had been badly compressed or corrupted. Eric moved away from the computer, his heart racing. He waited once more to see if it would go away, or change somehow, but it didn't. Feeling slightly more confident, he slowly clicked off the pop-up again, and it returned a second later with the same garbled sound clip. If anything, Eric was beginning to feel embarrassed and irate. He clicked it off again, to which it reappeared. He kept clicking, and yet it returned each and every time. Always with the audio clip, the room was slowly filled with bursts of the girl's garbled little voice. "Do you? Do you? Do you? Do you?" After some clicking, Eric realized a word was coming from the line besides like. The sentence now read, "Do you like the..." "Do I like the what?" he said to himself. Hoping to be eased by hearing his own voice in the room, he was now curious and went back to clicking it over and over again. More text slid from the line, the letters in a different place every time a pop-up came. "Do you like the..." The distorted little girl squeaked, by the way. "Do you like the... Do you like the red? Do you like the red room? Do you like the red room?" Red room. Eric sat there for a second, his stomach churning. He was afraid to take his eyes off the message, unsure of whether it would turn out to be a screamer or if he'd get a virus. Both of these possibilities were 1,000 times more comforting to Eric at that moment. "I found it," he told himself, his gut turning over harder now. "I really found it. It's not a joke, it's real." He quickly went through his mind for any red room he'd ever heard of. He briefly thought the whole situation was funny and prepared to go to the phone and call Ramsey, and then the pop-up had closed itself. Eric turned back to the screen immediately after a full-size window had popped up. It was nothing but an enormous text list of names on a red background. Eric, his hands now jittery, moved slowly and scrolled over through the window, skimming over the hundreds of names. He stared at them, his eyes widening in horror. Caroline Chalmers, Kay Wright, John Bay, Lisa Newport, Roy Kindlers, Mickey Fox, and then Eric saw something that made his heart stop. At the very bottom of the list was the name Ramsey Holmgren. Ramsey? Eric sputtered. Upon thinking of him, Ramsey's warning of the pop-up resurfaced in his mind. Everyone on the list is dead. They'd found the red room before him. Eric thought he was going to cry, and something inside him was telling him to run straight to the front door and get as far away from the monitor as he could. But he couldn't move. All he could do was sit there, shivering, eyes locked into the red and black space that was Ramsey's name. Eric almost swore he could feel the sensation of cold, stinging breath on the back of his neck. Before he could turn around, 2 hands clamped down on either of his shoulders and tightened their grip. Eric howled in pain, and before he knew it, he was slammed sidelong into a wall. On a Monday 1 week later, 2 girls were sitting on their homeroom at Edwin McDonald's High School, waiting for their second period class to begin. One of the girls sat on her desk, kicking her legs back and forth. "Were you listening to the news on the weekend?" "Not really. Why?" "Well, 2 boys were found dead right before the weekend. They were found in front of their computers with their stomachs gashed open." "Oh no, did they find out who did it?" No, but the cops think it was a suicide pact. Like, I don't want to freak you out, but they both had industrial paintbrushes in their hand. As if the boys were trying to paint the walls of the room with their own blood." "Oh my god, why would they do that?" Other classmates were crowding around now, eager to hear. The girl pulled a newspaper page from her satchel and handed it to her companion. Here's the article. I think the boys were from our school." "Jeez," the other girl frowned. "Why would you want to do that to yourself?" Well, that was The Red Room, and it was an alright creepypasta. Now if you check out the link to a Flash title I'll leave below in the description, this was basically based word for word off of that. I've put the gameplay of the Flash game in the video. That was of course Japanese, and this one was an English translation. I know some Japanese, you tend to pick some up here and there when you work, but I'm no expert. And this was an English translation. I don't know how close it was, so I really can't say if some things were lost or not. Now, it has 2 scary links to IRL events. One is the Sasebo slashing that occurred in June 1st, 2004 in Nagasaki Prefecture at an elementary school. The unfortunate soul was Satomi Mitarai, and I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. But the girl that attacked her was an unidentifiable girl by the age of 11. Death was caused by stabbing. Name is withheld due to Japanese legal procedures. This killer was actually alleged to be a fan of the Flash game that I linked below in the description. The game is certainly edgy, let me get that straight. It definitely is not of the non-eerie nature, but that link does seem kind of far-fetched. I mean, it's weird, but it's not that weird to really instill thoughts like that. The other scary fact is that there are actually red rooms available, and with the deep webbing this channel has gotten itself into, red rooms are areas on the deep web or hidden internet where people can come and witness live streams of, let's just say, human suffering, among other things. It's truly a scary part of the web, and Lord forbid you come across it. And the way this creepypasta showcases this stuff, again through pop-ups, it seems so viable as somebody could come across some potentially chilling stuff through something as simple as, again, a pop-up advertisement. And to the question of our protagonist, it is easy to track you. Yes, it really is. And hey, they may even have scoped you out and found you when they found your buddy. Why would they attack you? Who knows? Maybe you might have ended up on a red room, on a video titled How to Paint Walls, or some obscure title like that. Although that's me going far beyond the scope of the original creepypasta, the tale itself, though, ends rather abruptly. And that's my one gripe with it. The police just believe it's a suicide pact, and it's not even like you get led into this chain-like manner at the end. I mean, you kinda do, but it's not even as good as some other creepypastas out there. It really just ends off in a rather anticlimactic nature, and it's a shame because the story isn't bad. It was good until the middle and even the beginning. 2 of the 3 acts were good. The ending was just a full stop, and really it's just abrupt. Now it's interesting since you never know where a pop-up can lead you. You really won't even know until, again, you actually click it, right? This story was good, right until the end though, and the environment surrounding it should have been used to make an amazing creepypasta. That being said, this has been another episode of Creepypastas, and if you like what you saw, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it, and as always, let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and what would you change for the better. This is me, Mutahar, and I am out.